Hey there, everybody. I hope you are doing well. Checking in with you on this Wednesday morning. Wow, lots of things happened yesterday. Well, every day, right? Every day there's something new. But a couple of things really, my guides really were like, woo, pay attention to Fefe. And by the way, if you're just landing on the channel, I'm a Fefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. So happy that you're here. Hope you stick around. Hit that like and subscribe button. So many of you, thank you for hyping the channel. Thank you for your super thanks chat, the contributions, all of it. I never take any of it for granted. I absolutely thank you to the utmost. And my members, you already know, I appreciate you so very much and will continue to give you some extra content. Always looking forward to one of the bonuses that I offer members is I have a live private Zoom monthly with members, and we have a great time doing that. So if you're interested in becoming a member, you can find out how to join in the description box below and would love to have you on board. That said, let's get into a couple of things today. I am reading with a new deck. It's super thick. It's got over about 100 cards. It's got astrology and some other bonus cards in it. But a viewer hipped me to this, and I'm loving it. It's called the America Eclipsed deck, and the subtitle is Tarot Cards for Challenging Times. It is the bomb. All right, so gonna read with that today. All right, let's start out with this. The big news, or one of the big issues yesterday, was the revelation around the resignation of Joe Kent. Super duper MAGA, like right up there with Marjorie Taylor Greene in terms of somebody who's really been like not, like even though he's resigned, it wasn't out of some attack of conscience in a way that the majority of Americans could get behind. People know who Joe Kent is and what he really stands for, but in a way that makes it all the more like, whoa, that he actually came out and said there was no imminent threat. And certainly, despite his politics, his experience and his qualifications as a counterterrorism professional, that's not in question at all. But here's the thing, you all. So what we heard is he wrote this letter, which was published. I'm sure many of you have seen it. He wrote this letter of resignation, turned it in and said, I'm out. This isn't making sense. In good conscience, I cannot continue to go along with this. But then we find out on the back end of that the day before, because it came across like, oh, bombshell, he just hit Frump. Yeah, I call him Frump. He hit Frump out of nowhere with this news. Come to find out, he had a little sit down with Tulsi Gabbard, who has been mum on all of this, with Iran, etc. He had a sit down with Tulsi Gabbard. Stands to reason that's his boss, right? But also J.D. Vance. Why? Spirit said, I did a reading, I think it may have even been my Monday reading, that said, we know, Trump and Vance, that situation is like, it's ugly. We can see the tone between both of them. Vance is trying to play it really, really smart because he knows in the event, or when the event happens, everybody's waiting, got the champagne chilling. But when that happens, of course, he's trying to line up to be ready to step in, and he wants to extend that to 2028, right? But we also know that Trump set him up and said, okay, since you're really of no use to me on the international stage, and clearly you're not in favor of what I'm doing in regards to Iran, I'll just send you out there put you on this task force on this war on fraud, which is definitely, Spirit has said, is going to work against Vance. He just fails whenever he's out there on the domestic agenda. He's relying on his, cozying up to Turning Point. Supposed to be doing some debates soon with Erica Kirk. I talked about that. Here's what I want to get to is the fact that Joe Kent sat down with not just Tulsi, but with JD. Is JD making some moves to basically turn the tide within the administration against Trump? Is he trying to, speed up the timetable to basically not just not just elevate his position so that when all of this is said and done, he can come out and say, well, you all know I was never in favor of what Trump was doing with Iran anyway, but that he is actively trying to set the stage for the failure of what Trump is trying to do with Iran. We already know, NATO allies are like, do kick rocks. We're not going into the Strait of Hormuz. We're not buying what you're selling. Period. But why did Joe Kent sit down not just with Tulsi Gabbard but also with J.D. Vance? That's what I want to take a look at. Spirit, what's really going on behind the scenes? Is J.D. basically organizing a soft coup, right? For entertainment purposes only. Is he organizing a soft coup? Is he actively working to get Trump's, to help make him fail on this latest Iran situation? We have hope. Again, this deck has a bonus cards in it. So yeah, we have hope. That's what Vance wants to do. He's trying to make sure and occupy the Iran situation, Trump's stance on Iran, and that it's going to fail. There is no exit strategy. There was no entrance strategy. Spirit, what was the truth behind the meeting? Why did Joe Kent meet with J.D. Vance? 26, another bonus card here, and it says fire. Okay, to blow stuff up. It is again in response to Iran, which is what, that's why Joe Kent resigned. But it's recognizing that the administration is essentially, metaphorically, on fire. Spirit, is Vance also tightening his relationship with Tulsi Gabbard, who has been mysteriously quiet during all of this? Is he tightening that relationship? Yes, another bonus card, Earth. Grounding it, solidifying it, because, and the two of them, Gabbard and Vance, we know that they were both involved in Iraq. They have that sort of bond. Spirit, is Trump aware of the role that JD is playing? Is he aware of this sort of soft coup, this subterfuge, and that Joe Kent, 10 of Pentacles, he is very much aware, not only him, but his entire, whoever his loyalists, his real loyalists still are at this point. So the folks like Susie Wiles, the folks like, to a certain extent for self-serving purposes, Marco Rubio, they know. What will this, will there be a public fracture between Trump and Vance? Is this going to hit a boiling point with that fire we saw? Is this going to hit a boiling point? The devil. Watch it. The devil. On the one hand, this is speaking to the devil is very often about bondage, right? In a political context, Vance is in bondage to toe the line for the time being with Trump. But it is also about being able to set yourself free and the desire to set yourself free. And we've got the Five of Wands, that conflict. So Spirit, there is, clearly we can see it, no love lost between Vance and Trump at this point. Spirit, is it going to escalate into a public, yes, because Spirit, the Two of Wands, it is. Different versions of the future, a split, a two meaning a split. And also because part of what I think we're seeing right now, and people have said this in regards to, many experts and others have said in regards to Kent's resignation, Joe Kent's resignation, is what we're seeing is, and a lot of this not started, but a lot of this was amplified when Marjorie Taylor Greene decided to step down, is you got in the MAGA camp, which is definitely fractured. You've got the America First stalwarts, right? Like a Vance, to the extent that he ever has a solid platform, like a Vance, but certainly a Joe Kent. So you've got the America First folks, and then you've got the Trump first, folks. That's the Susie Wiles of the world. That's the Stephen Millers of the world. That's the Scott Bessents of the world. That's the Steve Witkoffs of the world, and certainly Jared Kushner's of the world. Um, so that's his plan. He is, and the Two of Swords, confirmation there again. The decision that is being made, that you've got this split, those twos coming back to back in Wands and Swords. So there's this split between the America First camp and the Front First camp. That's what Vance is positioning himself to exploit, if you will, to his advantage. Not sure. Again, Spirit has always said Vance will never be the guy, but it's really interesting, again, that for something as important and momentous as this, that Joe Kent went to Tulsi and JD to talk about this, to put this, to announce what he was going to do ahead of time. And the fact that clearly Trump is aware of that by now. All right. So we're going to see some interesting dynamics play out, you all, between Vance and Trump as Vance tries to solidify what he thinks is going to be at his base now. He's going to try and make what was the base that Trump is losing become his base so that he can take over. That's going to be really, really interesting. And also keeping in mind that today, from what we understand, the Senate Intelligence Committee is calling a hearing where Tulsi's going to have to testify, John Ratcliffe, CIA, has to testify, and Kash Patel, all three of them. Let's take a quick look at that while we're here. Spirit, what will be the outcome? I'm hearing, all arrows, and they're using the word arrows. All arrows are going to be pointed at Trump. Gabbard who again has been mysteriously quiet, or not mysteriously quiet, but we understand she's been posting, and she did say on X, in terms of the whole imminent threat situation, that this was Front made the determination that there was an imminent threat, and despite the fact that part of her job is to advise the truth of the matter, and otherwise, from an intelligence standpoint, she's just basically, everyone is says to that. Well, he said it was a imminent threat, so therefore it must have been, right? Spirit, the hearings today in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee, will these be pretty damning towards these folk, Tulsi Gabbard, John Ratcliffe, and Kash Patel? Will they collectively zing? It's the word they just gave me, zing. Will they collectively zing Trump and say this is all on him? Clearly, he did not listen to the commanders and other military experts. The Five of Swords, conflicting messages, because they don't want to come out straight out and say it, right? Tell the truth. But will the takeaway from this serve as further ammunition that Trump has lost it, that this was all about him? Temperance. It will. Alchemy, a card of change, and a card of needing to, on the one hand, be moderate and careful in how they describe, because they also want to save their own skin, right? Is there a dereliction of duty here? For entertainment purposes only, right? And according to what my spirit guides are giving me. But that temperance is really interesting here, because it says that they are looking both ways. They're these Gabbard et al. They are looking both ways, and on the one hand, they want to say this is all because of him. He made the determination, so that's why all this has happened. But they also have in mind that in the future, are they going to face some trouble? Are they going to be in deep caca because they did not, the Three of Swords? They are very worried about that. And notice we're getting a 3. I feel like that's directly in response to Gabbard, Ratcliffe, and Patel, the 3 of them testifying today before the Senate Intelligence Committee. So yeah, they're very worried that their butts are on the line, because they know that they did not. And Spirit's giving me my ace. If you've been with me before, my aces are when my spirit guides tell me, we're on point. We got it. So That's what's happening. They're going to point it at him just enough without coming across as somehow not being supportive of Trump and this whole agenda, but also keeping in mind that they're trying to set the stage that they don't wind up. They are afraid. At this point, the fear is starting to set in with some of these folks, you all. And keep in mind, we got Bondi coming back for some more testimony next month, I think on April 14th. We'll talk more about that later. But they know. The immunity? Not so sure. Not so sure. And the Three of Pentacles, another three. The plan to, they've all talked to one another. They're all going to try and sing off the same sheet, right? Gabbard, Ratcliffe, and Patel. They've coordinated. They're working with the, Spirit just said they're working with their legal teams, and the advisors are cross-referencing one another. So they are preparing. But they're also the Four of Pentacles. They're trapped. They realize that to a certain extent, they have built their own cages that they're now sitting in. And the Ten of Wands, they're burned out. And they realize they're also, again, trapped is the word Spirit's giving me. There's no way out. The only way out that they have, at least for right now in this moment, is to continually kind of, we, despite whatever our thoughts were or what the information that we had based on the information that Trump had, this is why this happened. He made the call, and he made the call, of course, without congressional approval or support. So therefore, don't look at us, look at him. That's what's happening with that. All right, let's talk about J.B. Pritzker putting his money where his mouth was and supporting Juliana Stratton, who pulled off a victory, right? Interesting for Dick Durbin's seat. And what's really fascinating about that I want to go to Spirit. My guides are saying, listen, that's a heads up for the DNC. This whole thing around, should the Democrats go in a more progressive direction, as we've seen with candidates like Mamdani and others who have come out and been very successful along those lines, and AOC certainly, and others. Got to always put Bernie in that mix, who started the train a long time ago, the forefather of it, if you will, of progressivism within the party. But and pushing for that, but there's still this reluctance, there's still these so-called, wanting to be more centrist or wanting to be more moderate, and the DNC still struggling, as we approach the midterms and backing candidates in the midterms, which way to go. Well, Juliana Stratton put that on the record, progressive to the max. I shared on Threads, there's an incredible one of her ads where people were saying, F Trump, right? They said that, she didn't, but it was really interesting the way that the ad was done. But Pritzker put $5 million into her campaign, and it paid off. But I want to see more, not more importantly. So we know Pritzker's coming for 28. Point blank, period. Pritzker's coming for 28. I don't think that Trump is really worried about that, because first of all, he ain't going to be a factor by then, right? Spirit is point blank. He's not going to be a factor by then. Can you imagine a Pritzker Vance face off like that? That would just be pure. Talk about for entertainment purposes only. That would be really entertaining to see them face off in a primary. But also, is the DNC listening in terms of the need for taking that the public right now, and public sentiment is clearly behind more progressivism within the party? Speak on behalf of the people. If it is about abolishing ICE, if it is about, which is part of Stratton's platform, abolishing, she's come out and said, abolish ICE. She's also calling for Medicare for all, among, some other issues. Spirit, is the DNC going to get behind what the American people are showing, voters are showing, is clearly a desire for a more progressive, willing to embrace stronger changes, and the need for that. Is the DNC going to get its act together? Because that also means taking on the folks like Schumer and Jeffries, right? All right, we got the Chariot. Okay. Oh, but we got the devil behind it. Okay. There's my spirit guys just said, there's an old term, lily livered. That's what I just heard, lily livered. Like they are, because they rely on, I just heard APAC. Dang it. They just, wow. Okay. So because the DNC is so, and Ken Martin especially is under fire around a lot of what has been a lack of campaign donations. Like the DNC has been hurting for money, right? So I think that's the devil. How do we advance or get behind more progressive candidates if in fact that's going to cost the DNC money, right? But there's the Chariot. So it almost feels like the will of the people and the DNC, and certainly maybe certain board members within the DNC recognizing you got to figure out a way to break out of those chains from what you think is going to be the only place you can get your money from. Spirit, is this Chariot indicating a move toward the Ken Martin et al. Being forced to find other means of campaign contributions? The lovers, some tough choices have to be made, and different types of unions between supporters and the DNC and the world. Capricorn, the structure. And also the world in tarot is ruled by Saturn, which is the ruler of Capricorn. So that's structural change. Knight of Coins, movement towards structural change towards their funding. That's the crux of the issue. They recognize, the DNC is recognizing, not just behind Stratton, but certainly her being the latest and a very large illustration of that, of the need for the people are calling for progressivism. Period. This lily livered, as my guide said, this approach to, we gotta be careful. We gotta try and meet. We want to try and perhaps appeal to Republicans, disenchanted Republicans. We got to appeal to, and there's just, the public sentiment is just like, if they're with us, they're with us. But either way, this is the way we want to go forward. We demand this kind of change. So there's going to be some structural challenges and having to reconfigure some things. And I'm getting also, Kim Martin better watch his step, because there are a lot of people not pleased with him, and I'm by that spirit of saying traditionally major Democratic funders who are not pleased with him and the direction that he's going in, that some of them want to pressure to keep him in line, the APACs, etc., the APAC folks, etc. But there are also many others that are saying, listen, before we give you before we continue to put in what it's going to take, millions of dollars. We know right now the GOP, Trump et al., they're sitting pretty in terms of the money that they've taken in. Now, is Trump ready to spend that money on candidates? No, probably not. That's not normally what he does. But this is what Spirit is saying in regards to the DNC. You want the money? You've got to appeal to others who are about a more progressive agenda, who will be willing to spend the money, but not if you're going to just continue to sit back and say, we'll take your money, but then we're going to go do the same old, same old. Ain't happening. All right, you all. Last thing I want to look at today, John Roberts. Upset. We saw the look on was it Roberts and Coney Barrett. Remember when Trump did that State of the Union, and they were sitting there giving him some, it was just the energy. So clearly, not feeling sorry for any of them for what? It's the Roberts Court, largely their fault why we're in this predicament with the whole immunity decision. But we also know that, they did that because at the time, their mission was to keep Trump out of jail. He was facing all the felony counts, et cetera, et cetera. So their one mission was to keep him out of jail. Whether they were naive enough to not see that the fallout from that was also going to impact them, that once they rendered that decision, then Trump's expectation was going to be, then therefore every single decision that you make after that needs to be in my favor. And when the tariff thing happened, it was like, what? You did what? So now we have Roberts out talking to, giving speeches and saying, listen, the degree to which we are being threatened is simply unacceptable. That is also important because where do we think King of Coins just popped out? I feel like that's John Roberts. Because whatever happens with the SAVE Act, right? The bottom line is the plan is to subvert the elections, to challenge them, to challenge results, to go to the courts or whatever they have to do. And to then do these things wind up at the Supreme Court. Spirit, is SCOTUS going to turn on Trump as it relates to voting? Now, we know that they could very well make some decisions around voting rights that will be not, the fear is that they will make some decisions that will be harmful to voting rights. But now that they are angry, Spirit, please show me, let me slow down for a second. Please show me, what is the truth behind John Roberts' take on Trump at this point in time? What does he really think about him? What is the truth around John Roberts' Seven of Swords? He feels like he's been lied to and deceived. He feels like he went along with what was being asked of the court to protect him with immunity, but he doesn't trust him at all. And the Six of Wands, I'm sorry, that was the Seven of Swords. I think I said Wands. Seven of Swords. So there's the deception. He feels deceived. He feels like, you turned on me. Remember when Trump went into office and he went in front of all them and shook his hand and was like, thank you for looking out for me. I got you. I'll never forget it. Well, we know how it works. But now he's seeing the reality of that. And now we have the Six of Wands, because I think there's a face-off here. I actually want to hold that image up for you. There's a face-off here coming between SCOTUS or Roberts, because I'm asking about Roberts' true view towards Trump right now. He sees it as a face-off. He sees it as, from his ego, Supreme Court justice, this is his court. Third branch of government, right? So he sees his role as, you basically punked me and told me to go sit in a corner, and he's not having the same reaction to that Congress has, which is, okay, we'll go over here and sit down, right? Spirit, the Hangman, he's had a reassessment. What he thought he was doing in advancing the immunity decision, among other things, is not what he did. And there's Pisces, the current swimming in another direction for Roberts in his approach to Trump. And the Three of Pentacles, is this an inability to work with him? Is Roberts feeling like he's just he can't work with him? The Nine of Cups, this is the justices. I don't know why I'm getting that strongly, but there's 9 justices, right? Yeah, this is the court itself. Is Roberts feeling pressured to preserve the courts or to somehow recapture the courts? Power is the word that's coming to me, but you know what I'm saying. The Knight of Swords. At the very least, he wants to put out a message that says, despite everything that you saw us do to cave to Trump, there is a recognition that we have a different duty to perform. Spirit, will SCOTUS stand up to Trump when the elections happen and there are challenges? Because there's going to be challenges. And the thing is, Trump is scared now because he sees the things that Roberts is coming out and saying. And so, whereas before he's been like, I got SCOTUS in the bag. Just like, Congress can go sit down. I don't need them to, right? Don't even need them. Don't need NATO. Don't need Congress. He was taking that same stance with SCOTUS. But I think, Spirit, will SCOTUS take a stance and preserve the integrity of the court? Hope. I like it. I'll take it. It's not a slam dunk, but the energy is there. There is something, Roberts as the head of the court. Spirit, does Roberts also have the backing of Kavanaugh and Comey? We know, and maybe Gorsuch. We know Alito and Thomas off the map. Never, never, never. Epstein files, whatever might be, allegedly, supposedly, right? But they're not. They're off the cliff. But Kavanaugh, Comey, judgment. Roberts is not by himself, and I think that's also why I was feeling the court so strongly. The 9, when I got that 9 of Cups, and Roberts speak, as the Chief Justice of SCOTUS. So there's this Coney Barrett, who can't stand him, but she got afraid, and we know early on last year she was starting to go in with some of the more, Ketanji Jackson and Brown Jackson and other, she was coming in with the girls squad for a little bit, and then she got scared because she was threatened, so then she backed out and started making some other decisions, but there's that. She's definitely not happy and ready to reclaim the court's authority. I'm getting Kavanaugh's got wishes to replace Roberts. Is this Kavanaugh? He's thinking he's going to eventually become Chief Justice. Page of Cups. He desires it for sure, and the Sun. So Brett Kavanaugh is looking at. He's imagining himself as, or the desire to become Chief Justice once Roberts steps down. That may have even been a conversation between Roberts and Kavanaugh. Is Roberts aware of this, and therefore would bring Kavanaugh in with him as the full 100%, you all. Thank you, Spirit. Being real. And the cards just went everywhere. I think the reading's done. Yeah. And I also feel like that's like, wow, this is going to be a big shift. So that is part of what we're seeing with Roberts starting to speak out and take this stance, because there are conversations that have been had. And I love, even on this Fool card, it says vote here, but blowing it up, right? As a result of these cases that will be before the Supreme Court, likely as this administration challenges the results of the midterms. Who knows how many of those results, but you get it. So Roberts has had some conversations with Kavanaugh. He recognizes that Kavanaugh has this ambition. Coney Barrett, I think, is just on the principle of the matter. Gorsuch will, maybe look at him later, but there's a turn happening within SCOTUS. And eventually, let's all hope and pray that it happens within Congress as well, but certainly within SCOTUS. All right, you all, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I hope it was helpful. Would love to hear, always love your commentary and your engagement. And in the meantime, you know how we close out. Chin up and our shoulders back. Know who you are and the role that you play and how important that is, all right? Especially with so much, at stake right now. And the stakes are going to remain high for the foreseeable future. So definitely give yourselves grace, but know who you are. Stay strong in that. Breathe. Stay centered in your heart. Know that the sky is always above you. Just look up. And if you see that as heaven, God, angels, the sky is above you, the earth is beneath you. Stand strong. All right? I'll talk to you real soon. Bye.